Okay, so we're looking into how to compute the probabilities. So we have just understood how to read the normal tables, standard normal tables. But the problem is I have a normal variable, not a z variable. So I said if you want probabilities for event of your interest, first convert that x into z. So we define our z as x minus mu by sigma. So that means subtract your x from 60 divided by 10. Now here you are talking about a special value, say x is equal to 55, x is equal to 28, and you need the probability for the range from 55 to 58. So what you do is you will subtract or you will convert this z into, sorry, x into z. So I'll subtract by 60 divide by 10. So your z has now, sorry, x has now reduced to z. 55 minus 60 is minus 5, minus 5 by 10 is minus 0.5. 58 minus 60 is minus 2, minus 2 by 10 is minus 0.2. So your x between 55 and 58 is same as z between minus 0.5 and minus 0.2. So now use the tables and see where you will, or what is the probability for minus 0.5 to minus 0.2. Similarly, other probabilities for greater than less than could be converted using the same mathematical technique that is called as standardization of the variable. So any variable which follows normal variable, if you standardize, it becomes a standard normal variable. What is this normal variable and standard normal variable? So let us understand this now in detail. So we have just looked into the practical aspect. So how to compute the probabilities. Now we'll see what are the properties of this particular distribution. And don't worry, there are no numerical problems from this section of normal distribution. I just solve these examples just to make you understand how probabilities and areas are obtained for the values, various values of our x. So continuous variable x is said to follow normal distribution if its probability density function is given by f of x is equal to 1 by sigma into square root of 2 pi into e power minus half into x minus mu by sigma whole square. Did I forget half? No, by 2 by 3 then. Okay, so this is the definition of the normal distribution. So this have to remember. And then looking at the properties. So your question will be, what is a normal distribution? Write a note on normal distribution and its application. So I have to look into all particular properties. So first property is that since it is continuous distribution, you cannot actually assign probabilities for particular values, but you could do so only for the range of the values. Like say x is above some point A, x is below some point B, or in between some point C and D. Only for such cases the probabilities can be obtained. This is for all continuous distributions. So later we'll look into three more continuous distributions which are closely associated with normal, and we'll see even in that case the same property can be observed. Now, while explaining, I said even if you have a discrete variable, like say number of defectives, number of accidents, which is actually binomial and Poisson respectively, even in that case, we can convert that into normal. We can assume that into normal, and that is theoretically proved. So if you have a binomial distribution, which has parameters n and p, under certain conditions, it actually becomes normal And those conditions are if your n is really large and p and q are almost equal, that is p is close to 0.5. So that's why, number of defectives which we observed in the exercise saw, we saw that is also normal. So even in case of Poisson distribution, like say distribution of number of accidents, number of deaths, number of births, even in that case, those can be studied using normal distribution, provided your lambda is very large. This is the book. This is the book. Are you talking about that Excel file, Vaishnavi? This is second PUC book which I have made you download. Okay, so I'll try to mail it to you, because if I just send the pic, that is not sufficient. Okay, so I'll see what best I can do. Okay, so that's why under certain conditions, and that condition is if your n is very large. So if your number of observations or the possible range for x is very large, in that case your x can be taken as binomial. So we did the same case, right? So we took x as the number of defectives, and we saw that my n is really large here. See, I'm talking about x is equal to 20 defectives, x is equal to 30 defectives, x is equal to 35 defectives. So if this happens where your binomial n is large, in that case, you can actually produce standard normal distribution from that particular set of x. So that's why this distribution is called as normal distribution, because most of the variables what we observe in the nature, all those variables can be easily studied using this concept. So that's why the assumption and the validation of normal distribution is very much important when it comes to the inferential analysis of statistics. Now, these are some of the examples of normal distribution. So you have heights of students, weights of apples, then lifetime of electric components. So life. So in most of the cases, when you talk about some electric components, you talk about what called as the warranty period, or how long this particular item will help me, whether it is in a house or a particular part like kitchen and so on. So if you talk about the lifetime of a refrigerator, the life of a washing machine, the life of a mixer or grinder, in all those cases, we talk about what called as life of electric component. So simply here life, it is the same definition, how long it works. So life for human being, how long they'll live on the earth. Similarly, how long a particular equipment will help me, that is called as life, and that is actually the time in maybe days or decades or years. So we say the warranty period for a mixer is 3 years, 5 years. That means that the producer is giving you a guarantee that this mixer will fail only after 5 years. So it will help you for a long duration of 5 years, but after 5 years it may fail. So that is how he come up with an answer. Now the question, how do they know it is exactly 5 years? How do they know it is exactly 3 years? As said, it is normal. There is no question of exact 3, exact 5. So they say at least 3, at least 5. You can use it for a minimum period of 3. Within the minimum period of 3, our equipments are built such that they, doesn't fail. They are free of defective parts. So how do they come up with this number 3 and 5? They have the past data. So whenever the production is happening, some random items will be selected. So if they are producing, say, 100 mixers or grinders per day, out of those 100, 3 mixers will be randomly selected to check the quality as well as the other specification as well. They use these 3 mixers or grinders, and they will run for a large number of time. So every day they will be run for 5 hours or 3 hours, and then check how many days we have run that. So they have capturing the data, and in most of the cases the data comes out to be 1000 days or 900 days, which is roughly equal to 3 years. Therefore, they come up with their statement that our product can be used for at least 3 years. So this is the actually part of statistics which is more widely used in the world, and that is called as estimation as well as hypothesis testing. Now, to understand the concept of estimation and hypothesis testing, we should have a very thorough knowledge of normal distribution. So what a normal variable is, what is a mean. So if I just say mean of a normal variable, it is not sufficient. Therefore, we started with the concept of mean, concepts of standard deviation, quartiles. We understood those concepts, and then we are actually looking into this particular distribution. So any research work basically starts from this part. So collection of the data, you have X and you have assumed X to be normal. So now we'll see what happens if I assume X to be normal, and we actually see what are the sampling distributions, how the normality helps us in achieving the desired results. Now coming to the properties, so this is also an important part. So as said, for you, don't worry about the numerical problems in the normal distribution. Look into the definition of normal distribution, examples of normal distribution or normal variables, and then properties of normal distribution. So a compulsory question will be there. And this property we have just understood by that Excel exercise. So we saw that whatever may be the values of your X, when you convert them into Z, or if you look into the width, it mostly lies between mu minus 3 sigma and mu plus 3 sigma, or in terms of Z, it mostly covers the area only from minus 3 to plus 3. And if you look into that possible area, that is 99%. That means 1%, that is 0.5, is split in the either part. So this is how the curve is given theoretically, but practically it always touches your zero. But since we say the range is from minus infinity to infinity, we say that the curve touches x-axis only at minus infinity and infinity. So these are some particular probability belts which are used in producing various sigma limits. So these are called as sigma limits. So I am talking about mu minus sigma, mu plus sigma, 1 sigma. So within 1 sigma belt, you will observe 68% of the data. Then mu minus 2 sigma and mu plus 2 sigma. So within 2 sigma belt, you will observe 95% of the data. Within 3 sigma belts or limits, you will observe 99% of the data. So what is this telling is, if you pick any set of x values, heights and weights, and if you convert or if you compute the values of mu, which is mean of that data, and the standard deviation of that data, you will observe almost all the values within that mu plus 3 sigma and mu minus 3 sigma. So let me make you understand this. So I have x1 here, which is 46 to say 0, 100 inclusive of that. Now what I do is I'll compute mu plus 3 sigma and mu minus 3 sigma. So here mu is 55.89, mu plus 3 times of sigma, 12.3256. So it is telling you have 92 as that value. Now compute mu minus 3 sigma. So 55.89 minus 3 times of standard deviation, 12.32. It is telling 18.93. Now if you look into the values, 99% of the values will be within this 18.93 and 92. Now see in where cases, so I said these are the extreme values, those are outside, but when you look into all the cases, so most of the cases, almost 100% data is within your mu sigma, 3 sigma and 2 sigma. Now let me reduce the width of the band from 3 sigma to 2 sigma. So I have mu plus 2 sigma and mu minus 2 sigma. So this is telling 95% of the data will be within this. So you have 46, 52, 74, 35. So even in this case, so this is the distribution such that even your values are such that they are within 2 sigma. So if you are observing maximum values within lower sigma belts, that indicates that standard deviation is very low and the distribution or the variables are compactly packed. That is, they are consistent. And there exists most of the cases of your x values which are very close to mu. And in that case, we could see this. Now the last exercise is on 1 sigma. So I'll take mu plus 1 sigma, it is coming to 68, and mu minus 1 sigma, and that is coming to 43. So the values within 43 and 68. Values within 43 and 68. Within 43 and 68. So if you look into the proportion of that, that comes to be 68% theoretically, and practically your proportion will be this. So out of my say 13 values here, 14 values, only 4 are outside this particular case. So this is what the meaning of the sigma belts, and this concept is widely used in the production areas, in the quality control areas. So what is the other view or the other approach is that if you are producing any items and if you want to make sure that 99% of the items fall within this specific range, then obtain the limit such that, or fix your mu and sigma such that mu minus 3 sigma, mu plus 3 sigma, within that you will produce 99% limits. Now, these are all the calculations, which were done prior to say 15 or 20 years, where the, much good or supercomputers were unavailable. But nowadays, computers are well established and you can produce 10 digits, 15 digits after the decimal point. So instead of just looking into 4 digits in the normal table, now people try to look into 6 digits, 8 digits, 10 digits, and now they can clearly see what is happening in mu minus 6 sigma, mu plus 6 sigma. So this 99% is telling you that if you produce 100 items, one will be defective based on the mu and sigma, how you have defined it. So 1 in 100 or 1 in 1000 concept were established. Now in the modern application of statistics is such that in the modern day, they talk about the 6 sigma limits, 8 sigma limits, 9 sigma limits. So they are talking about producing only one defective out of lakh, one defective out of million, one defective out of crores, things like that. Okay, so you need not worry about that. So you just look into this curve and memorize this curve and how to interpret this. If you have any normal data, 99% of the normal that data values you will observe within mu minus 3 sigma, mu plus 3 sigma, 95% within 2 sigma limits, and 68% within 1 sigma limit. Now coming to the other properties like measures of central tendency, measures of skewness, kurtosis, for a normal distribution, you need not derive it using the formulas of mean or the formulas of kurtosis, moments, etc. They are actually obtained based on the values of mu and sigma. And that's why these distributions are called as standard distributions, and you have what called as parameters available in those distributions. The parameters will help you in understanding all these properties like mean, median, skewness, standard deviation, mean deviation, etc. So based on the observed values of mu, you can easily say what are the values of mean, median, and mode. And while discussing the skewness and kurtosis of the concept of skewness and kurtosis, I said whenever you observe a distribution where mean equals median equals mode, that indicates that distribution is symmetric. A symmetric distribution indicates that there is no skewness. Beta 1 is called as measure of skewness. Therefore, we say measure of skewness is equal to 0. So that is very much, easily understood just by looking into the shape. Since the shape is bell shaped, both the tails are equally stretched and half of the curve is exactly the mirror image of the other. Therefore, this happens, and this happens for all the normal distribution. It has only one mode, therefore it is called as unimodal. And if you look into the peak is not very sharp, it is not very flat, it is somewhat moderate, and the moderate kurtosis is called as mesokurtic. And since we have the mesokurtic value or the measure of kurtosis indicated by beta 2, is equal to 3 for a normal distribution, we keep this beta 2 equal to 3 as a scale in observing whether a distribution has sharp peak or flat peak. So if you have a distribution whose value of beta 2 is greater than 3, that indicates that the sharp peak for that curve is observed. The peak of the curve is very much sharp there. If you observe beta 2 to be less than 3, the peak will be very much flat. Therefore, we take this distribution, normal distribution, to compare other distributions, kurtosis, and other distributions, skewness. That's why this is called as normal. So again, another point, because it is used to study non-normal distributions also in terms of kurtosis, in terms of skewness, etc. So as said earlier, standard deviation is given by sigma, and we had talked about two more measures of dispersion called as average deviation or mean deviation, then quartile deviation based on quartiles Q1, Q2, Q3. Quartile deviation is basically defined as Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2 for any distribution. And if you look into the values of Q3 minus Q1 by 2 after computing the quartiles for a normal, that is approximately same as 2 by 3 times of sigma. So just by knowing the value of sigma, you can have you can observe the value of quartile deviation, normal deviation, mean deviation, etc. So that's why sigma is called as parameter. Much of the measures or properties are studied only based on mu as well as sigma. Now coming to the asymptotic behavior of the curve. What is this asymptotic behavior? Though it looks that the curve is touching x-axis, theoretically it is not touching. It approaches x-axis, the value of x-axis to be equal to 0 and 0, but it never touches x-axis. So if you pick a particular set of values and if you obtain the curve, you will see that your curve is actually touching x-axis here, but that is not so. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಏನು ಟಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ but it touches x-axis only at infinity and minus infinity. As said, you can do this exercise by taking values from minus 10 to plus 10, minus 100 to plus 100. In all these cases, it is the same type of curve, bell-shaped curve. You will observe this is the end, but this is not the end. It stretches up to plus infinity. It stretches up to minus infinity on the right and left side. Therefore, we say the curve is asymptotic. It never touches x-axis. If you want to say that it actually touches x-axis, that happens only in the case where your x is plus infinity and your x is minus infinity. Okay, next we talk about some points called as points of inflection. So points of inflection basically changes the curvature. So we talk about two curvatures here, convex as well as the concave. And if you look into the normal curve, the curve is such that at certain points the curve looks like a convex, then it becomes concave, and the point where this nature changes, the concave becomes convex, that is called as the points of curvature. And from this it is hard to understand, but let me say. So you have a curve which is coming like this, so which is convex, but at a certain point it changes its direction and becomes a concave. So this point where it changes its curvature, that is called as points of inflection. And for a normal curve, that happens at mu plus sigma and mu minus sigma. You could say that no, from the figure it is not so, it is mu minus 2 sigma. But as said, this is just a picture. It is not depicting a particular normal curve. So if you see a particular normal curve, then you can observe that. So you have the point of curvature here close to minus 1. See, this is the point of curvature where your convex nature is becoming a concave nature. And as said, here standard deviation is 1. So the points of inflection are minus 1 and plus 1, 0, minus 1, 0, plus 1. So if you produce a neat normal curve using the softwares, only then certain properties could be, viewed, visually. Otherwise, you have to just theoretically assume that yes, it is true. Yes. So there are many such properties. You just look into 5 to 10 such cases, important ones, and one important property is based on the moments. So while defining skewness and kurtosis, we talked about rth moment mu r is equal to total of x minus x bar to the power of r divided by n. And I said it is indicated by mu1, mu2, mu3, mu4, and so on. And they are classified into odd cases and even cases. Odd cases where you have mu1, mu3, mu5. And since the normal distribution is symmetric, your x minus x bar whole cube, x minus x bar whole power 5, x minus x bar whole power 7, if you look into the total, that becomes always 0 because of the property of mean. Sigma x minus x bar is equal to 0. Your x is symmetric. So when you produce x minus x bar whole cube, x minus x bar whole power 5 and observe its total, the total is always 0. And that happens only in case of normal distribution or any symmetric distribution. And since normal is symmetric, we say all odd ordered moments are 0. So when you produce mu1, mu3, mu5 for a normal data, you will observe that to be 0. But you can observe actual values for mu2, mu4, mu6, mu8. And that is also given by a general formula. And as said, that is just based on the value of sigma. So if you know the value of sigma, you can see what is your mu2, you can see what is mu4, you can see what is mu6. So basically substituting r is equal to 1. When you put r equals 1, you get mu2. In the right hand side, when you put r is equal to 1, you get 2 into 1 minus 1, which is 1. So it is just 1 sigma square. If you put r is equal to 2, you get 2 into 2 minus 1, which is 3. So it will be 1 into 3 into sigma power 4, which is 3 sigma power 4. Similarly, the other moments could be generated. Quartiles, we have actually not talked about how to obtain the quartiles for raw and other cases of the data. You need not worry. So for a normal distribution, if you know the values of mu and sigma, you can actually have the quartile values. Now, similarly, you can obtain deciles and percentiles for normal distribution, and you will plot the percentiles obtained for a sample data, percentiles obtained from the normal distribution, and you can use that in producing the QQ plotter. And another important property, area under the normal curve serves as probability. And if you look into the total area under the normal curve is equal to 1. Therefore, any area above 0.5 or any area below 0, so any area above 0 and any area below 0 or above mean, below mean is always equal to 0.5. Now, what are all the properties? The very first property what we observed there in the curve, that 68% data lies within 1 sigma width, 95% within 2 sigma width, and 99% within 3 sigma width. That is mathematically given in terms of probability statements like this. So you need not worry about this, how to write this, what is the meaning. The meaning I have made it very much clear. If you have any any normal data, this behavior in the data could be observed. Your 95% data will be within mu minus 2 sigma and mu plus 2 sigma. So this curve is just represented mathematically in these statements. Okay, so these are all the properties for a normal distribution. Now we talk about a variable called a standard normal distribution. So to understand any normal variable, we have to standardize it, see the properties in terms of standard normal, then you can go back and observe the same cases for normal. So we say any variable which is taking mu equals 0 as mean, sigma equals 1 as standard deviation, and if our z is a normal, in that case, we call that variable to be standard normal variate. So here, assume that you are talking about a special variable called as x. and that is indicated by Z. Why we are indicating it as Z? Because there is a special reason, Z, in order to just differentiate it from normal. So I could have a case where X is a normal that could have a mean 0 as well as 1. So in order to differentiate whether it is normal or standard normal, we are using notations now. So just, universally accepted notations, you could say even in this situation, this X is said to be standard normal. Yes, it can be called a standard normal, but there are certain notations used statistically and universally they are followed. Therefore, we use the same notations. Now, till now, we indicated the variable by the symbol X. Now we are using the symbol Z. So I have a Z which is normal, but its mean is 0, its standard deviation is 1. In that case, my Z is called a standard normal variable, and that probability density, as stated by me earlier, it is f of z is equal to 1 by square root of 2 pi into e power minus z square by 2. Now, what are all the properties what we studied for a normal distribution prior to this? There we studied it for a general case of mu and a general case of sigma. Now, in those properties, if you substitute mu equals 0, sigma is equal to 1, you get the properties for a normal distribution. So, I have mean 0, variance 1, therefore mean, median, mode equals ಅಲ್ಲಿ mu ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ, here it is 0, and you could look into quartiles, which is just minus 0.6475. Here beta 2 is always 3, beta 1 is 0. Quartile deviation is there, it was 2 by 3 sigma, but sigma is 1, therefore it is just 2 by 3. So this is about the normal distribution. Now the question, why do we need this standard normal distribution? As said, if you have any particular variable, when it becomes a standard normal variable, it is a unitless measure. So every normal distribution could be studied easily using standard normal distribution. Therefore, we convert that into standard normal in order to look into the probabilities as well as area. Otherwise, the standard normal curve is not needed. Now, coming to the much of the tools and techniques available when it comes to the hypothesis testing as well as the inference part, most of the theoretical results are derived for Z and not for X. So that's why theoretically Z is also an important distribution. And we could well establish that if you have obtained the mean for a particular sample or set of samples, the mean also follows normal distribution. So we'll see that in the coming classes. So I'll end the session here. If you have any doubts regarding this normal and standard normal distribution, you can ask me. So there are a set of numerical problems. As I said, numerical problems are not required for you. Just look into the theoretical aspects, what a distribution is. But when it comes to the application, these problems like this help you how you can have a guess on the number of students. So have certain number of students, you want to have a guess how many will weigh between these limits. So you're talking about students participating in an examination, the past average and standard deviation of the marks of the examination. So using that, how can you predict this time how many will pass, how many will get seat? So all such estimates could be obtained when you know the values of mu and sigma of a normal distribution. Okay. So I'll stop here. If you have any doubts, you can ask.